Patrick Mahomes looks like he's trending in the right direction for Kansas City's Week 1 opener, but according to veteran NFL insider Adam Schefter, simply being on the field isn't the part fans should be fixated on. The bigger issue, he says, is what kind of quarterback shows up once he's out there. Here's the background. Mahomes tore his ACL and damaged his LCL back in December, an injury combination severe enough to shut down his entire season on the spot. Surgery followed within a day, and from that point forward it's been months of rehab happening largely out of public view. No sizzle reels of him sprinting through cones, just the slow, repetitive process of rebuilding a knee after that kind of trauma. Fast forward to now, and the reports coming out of the Chiefs facility are actually pretty encouraging. Schefter says the organization believes Mahomes is ahead of where they projected him to be at this stage, and that he's tracking toward being ready for that Monday night season opener against Denver. That's a genuinely fast timeline for a quarterback recovering from a torn ACL and LCL. And on the surface, it sounds like exactly the news Chiefs fans have been hoping for. But then Schefter pumps the brakes with a distinction that reframes the whole story. He's clear that this was never really about whether Mahomes suits up. It's about whether he's still Mahomes when he does. There's a massive difference between being medically cleared to play and being able to plant hard, cut on a dime, and absorb contact the way he used to before the injury. A torn ACL paired with an LCL tear isn't something that just disappears once a doctor gives the green light. It's the type of injury that can quietly shadow a player's performance for months, sometimes an entire season, even after he's technically back on the field. And that matters more for Mahomes than almost any other quarterback in the league, because Kansas City's offense is built entirely around the things a repaired knee makes harder to do. Sliding away from pressure, buying extra seconds in the pocket, turning busted plays into first downs through sheer improvisation. If any of that burst or lateral quickness is even a little bit off, it doesn't just show up in the box score, it fundamentally changes how this offense is able to operate. It's also worth remembering that Mahomes wasn't exactly having a career year before the injury hit. In the games he did play last season, he finished ranked just 13th among quarterbacks league-wide according to NFL.com's own rankings, throwing for 3,587 yards with 22 touchdowns against 11 interceptions. Solid numbers for most starters, sure, but nowhere close to the standard Mahomes has set for himself in years past. So now you're stacking a major knee reconstruction on top of a season that already looked a little shaky, and that combination is exactly why Schefter isn't ready to celebrate just yet. He's not just tracking the recovery timeline, he's waiting to see what shows up on tape. If Mahomes can't go, or if he's active but clearly not right, Kansas City's backup plan runs through Justin Fields, Chris Oladipo, and rookie Garrett Nussmeier. There's real talent in that room, but none of them carry the command of the offense or the sheer proven history that Mahomes brings on his worst day. And that gap is precisely what's got people around the league paying close attention right now. Schefter isn't alone in raising these concerns either. Former NFL cornerback and current analyst Devin McCourty has been sounding a similar alarm from a slightly different angle, and his worries dig even deeper into the roster as a whole. McCourty laid out a scenario worth sitting with. Say Mahomes is technically active for Week 1 but isn't fully himself physically. In that case, how much real confidence does anyone have in Justin Fields taking over and running this offense at a high level if it comes down to that? It's an uncomfortable question, but a completely fair one to ask. McCourty didn't stop there, though. He also pointed out something that's quietly bothered Chiefs fans all offseason, which is that the front office didn't really go out and reinforce the roster around Mahomes this year. Rashee Rice's situation heading into the season has been far from settled. Xavier Worthy returning helps, and Tyquan Thornton rounds out the receiving group as one of the main options available. But according to McCourty, once you look past that trio, there just isn't a lot of proven depth left to fall back on. Travis Kelce is still around and still capable, but he's also another year older, and Kansas City didn't bring in any real complementary weapon to help share that workload with him. Then there's the offensive line, which McCourty singled out as maybe the most frustrating piece of this entire puzzle. Protection issues have followed Mahomes for several seasons now, repeatedly forcing him to escape clean pockets, take hits he probably shouldn't have to take, and manufacture something out of nothing because the blocking in front of him collapsed. Now picture that exact same pressure problem, Except this time the guy dealing with it is only a few months removed from a serious knee reconstruction. That's the part keeping analysts like McCourty up at night heading into this season. Put all of it together and this stops being a simple story about a quarterback coming back from injury. You've got a franchise passer who tore both his ACL and LCL in December, who by every account is healing faster than expected, but whose on-field effectiveness remains a total question mark. You've got a backup quarterback room that would suddenly carry enormous weight if Mahomes can't go, or worse, if he's out there but visibly limited. You've got a receiving core that lost stability without gaining much to replace it. And you've got an offensive line concern that's haunted this franchise for years, now carrying even higher stakes given the specific injury Mahomes is working his way back from. Kansas City has built its entire dynasty around Mahomes turning broken plays into something special, throwing from unconventional angles, and creating time in the pocket that shouldn't logically exist. But every bit of that depends on physical tools that major knee surgery can absolutely diminish, at least temporarily. So while it's genuinely good news that Mahomes appears ahead of schedule and on pace to play in that Monday night opener against Denver, the tougher question underneath all of that optimism isn't going anywhere. Will he actually be able to do the things that make him who he is? Or is Kansas City about to get a noticeably scaled-down version of their franchise quarterback at the exact moment the rest of the roster needs him to carry the load? That push and pull, real optimism about the recovery paired with real uncertainty about his form, is what's going to define this storyline heading into Week 1. It's no longer a simple question of whether he plays or not. It's a far more layered conversation about margin for error, about how much weight this team can realistically put on a quarterback who's still healing, and about whether everyone else on this roster is prepared to pick up the slack if he needs extra time to find his rhythm again. So here's what's really worth thinking about. Considering everything you just heard, the injury itself, the recovery timeline, the depth chart behind him, the state of the receiving core, and that ongoing offensive line issue, do you think Patrick Mahomes takes the field in Week 1 looking like the Mahomes everyone remembers? Or do you think we're in for a slower, more cautious version of him while he fully works his way back into form? Leave your prediction in the comments, and let's find out together once that Monday night matchup finally kicks off.